My name is Amanda Godoy. I am the internal vice president of CHIPS, Cardiff Healthcare International Perspective Society in Cardiff University, and we have some members of our team as well here, including Shabita, Annabelle, Charmaine, and Trevor. So we're very, very happy to be doing this sort of webinar series that is starting this Saturday and is going to go for the 16th and the 23rd of this month as well. And we're going to be exploring the life of an international medical student from several aspects of their lives: the social, the actual medical aspect, and the professional development and finances. So we're going to be covering 3 different countries of the UK: Wales, Scotland, and England. We have amazing speakers lined up for you. Today, we're going to be hearing from Trevor, Dr. Matthew, and Dr. Anthony. And they all have experience with the Wales aspect of the medical students and medical professionals. And they are really amazing. You're going to love to hear from them. Our first speaker is going to be Trevor, who is going to be speaking about understanding the university life and adapting to it as well, and socializing. Just with some housekeeping rules, we're going to be recording the session, so please keep your mics off if that's possible. If you want to ask any questions at the end, you feel free to turn your mics on and you can ask it as well, but you can also use the chat to put your questions throughout the session. We're going to be having a Q&A in the end as well, so you can drop your questions there, and all of our speakers will answer every single question that you have. We also will be sending you guys a feedback form after the session. So this session is recorded. If you fill the feedback form, we can send you the recording and you can rewatch it and really be on top of your international student life in the UK. And if you do have any problems, just also send us a message on the chat and then we can help you with anything. So without further ado, I'll introduce our first speaker, Trevor. So Trevor is a medical student from Cardiff University. He's in 4th year, and he has a lot of experience with socializing. He really has thrown himself into everything that student life has to offer, and he teaches as well in many societies, not only CHIPS. So he's the external vice president of CHIPS, but he's also a part of MedSoc, and then he also teaches in the Surgical Society. So he has a lot of experience with other committees, and he's the best person really to talk about university life and socializing. So you're gonna love to hear from him. I will pass the floor on to you, TJ. So if you just want to share your screen and we can get started.
Hello. Right. Thank you very much. Can everyone see that screen?
Yeah.
Perfect. Right. So I've been asked today to talk to you about university life. So here goes. These are a couple of things that I'm going to cover. I'm just going to talk about adapting to life itself, the city, understanding the style and routine, and of course cultural and socializing. So first off, I'm going to start with who am I? I have picked out a couple of pictures from my time here at Cardiff. I'm from Guernsey in the Channel Islands, which is right between the UK and France here. As Amanda said, I'm a 4th year medical student. How I made it this far, to be honest, completely beats me. I'm sporty. I like diving and I like rock climbing, which I have all started whilst I was at university here in Cardiff. Okay, so adapting to university life. One of the first things you'll do when you get to university is you'll have to settle into your accommodation. Now, one thing that in order to do this, I did was I joined group chats. You will be added to many a group chat. You'll be added to a house group chat, a flat group chat, even a floor group chat, a medics group chat. There's so many group chats that you just lose track of it. And if you really engage in these, you'll never look back and it'll be one of the best things you did. I mean, I was even talking to my flatmates before I showed up at university and knew all their names and interests. So just by the use of Facebook group chats, I was already way ahead of where I should be. I would recommend getting there early. So this just means that you have more time to set up and get used to the location, the shops, where you're going each day. So one of the issues with this is you'll be the only person in your flat sometimes. So when I showed up, I was the only person in my flat. But I got around this by knocking on doors until I actually found someone that was in a flat. And from that, I made some really, really good friends. And the final one is find the nearest supermarket. This is your best friend. In Cardiff, the nearest shop to the accommodation is a Tesco. This Tesco was my best friend throughout first year, was able to go shopping at 12 o'clock at night if I forgot pasta, was able to get toiletries, everything that I needed all hours of the day. It saved me on so many experiences, and I'm really glad that I was actually able to find it so early. Next, you'll of course have Freshers Week. This is the perfect time to go to Freshers Fair. When you're at Freshers Fair, it's a fair with every single society at the university, so every sports club and just society, and it gives you an opportunity to just look at what the university has to offer and do as many things as you want. So a lot of the societies offer give it a go sessions, so I signed up for as many of those as possible, then went to all of them, decided which ones I liked, which ones I didn't, and then chose those, which I found was really, really useful. Because that's ultimately how I found water polo, and then how I found squash as well more recently. The Freshers Flu does exist. It's because you have many people from all corners of the world mixing at one central location. It's horrible. I've already had Freshers Flu this year, and it's quite bad. But once it's out of the way, you're fine. You will feel rather tired, but if you just keep pushing through, or you take a day break, you're normally back to normal the next day. It's just a very unexpected thing when you do get it for the first time. In Freshers Week in Cardiff, you'll meet your course mates on the very first day. So there's often a walking bus that's put on by the MedSoc that goes from one of the central accommodations and walks you all the way to the university. It's a really good time to get to know everyone, as well as work out the quickest route to and from the accommodation to the uni. Go to the Students' Union, of course. This is great. It's often where some of the cheapest food is in Cardiff because it's subsidised by the Students' Union. We in Cardiff are now getting a Costa, and I actually can't contain my excitement over that. Or is it a Starbucks? I think it's actually a Starbucks. And then, as I've already mentioned, give it a go. So money is a rather taboo subject at uni. Not many people talk about it. One thing to remember is that everyone has a different budget. I know people that live off of £50 a week. I know people that live off of 100. It just depends on the person and what they spend their money on. So for you guys, I have broken down my budget. I live off of about £60 a week, 30 of which goes to food. £20 of it goes to going out, so anything like fuel for my car, or a pint at the pub, for example. And then there's also sport. So I rock climb, so I designate £10 a week to go rock climbing. And then just to touch on the three classes of supermarkets, if you're not aware of this, because I wasn't, there are three costs of supermarket. There's a low cost, which is your Lidl and your Aldi. There's the middle cost, which is Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Tesco's, and then there's a high cost, which is Waitrose and M&S. I found that very, very useful. I found that Tesco fruit is often a lot better than Lidl and Aldi fruit, for example. So it's all about those little tips and tricks that you need to know in order to get the most out of your money. Finally, in this section, do I need a car? The answer is yes and no. So in first year, you don't really need a car. Everything can be done by walking. But in third and fourth year in Cardiff, you will actually need a car just to get from A to B and from placement. But you can always get the bus to shopping or walk. And of course, my best friend here is Next Bikes. Absolutely amazing. Those are free bikes to rent that you can just get all around the city, which leads me on to my next thing of adapting to the city. One of the most common things I get when I say people should go to Cardiff is that they can't speak Welsh. To be honest, it doesn't really matter because only 30% of the population speak Welsh, but 99% of the population speak English. Most of the university students that go to Cardiff are actually English as well, or are from Cardiff themselves. So everyone will be speaking English. You won't be disadvantaged if you don't speak Welsh, but you can actually learn Welsh if you want. However, all uni students who speak Welsh can do the first 2 years of the course in Welsh, and Cardiff actually has a specific case group dedicated to Welsh speakers, but if you don't speak Welsh, you won't be in it. Just what Cardiff has to offer. So I've tried to break it down. You've got sports events, so you've got the cricket, rugby and football, which are held regularly here. You've got the Motorpoint Arena, which is regular gigs by top artists. Panic at the Disco, The Script, Ed Sheeran are all playing in Cardiff or have played in Cardiff recently. And of course, the great Tom Jones. Shops, it's a lovely shopping experience here in Cardiff. The closest thing that I can compare it to is London without completely being London. You've got Cardiff Bay, which is effectively a seafront with loads of good cuisines, both Eastern and Western. It's close to the Brecon Beacons if you like hiking as well. My top tips for adapting to the city would be explore. Just take the opportunity, any free time you have, just explore the local surroundings, go into the city centre, go down to the bay, go down to Penarth, any of these places, just get used to where you are. Cardiff is a beautiful place to live and you need to take full advantage of that. Go to events as well and find the cheapest or nicest pub, depending on if you drink or not. I also found my cheapest supermarket and the nearest supermarket. Cool. Then you have understanding study style and routine. So the one thing that's common at university is people don't know how to stick to a schedule. So this is the very first time anyone in their life normally has a whole sense of freedom. So there's no strict evening schedule. You don't have your parents cooking dinner for you, for example, especially in my case. But there was no schedule that I had to stick to. So it's always important to actually stick to some sort of schedule. Either get up at the same time each day, go to bed at the same time each day, shop at around about the same time each week. Don't party too much, and remember to cook as well. A lot of people don't cook at uni and just make microwave meals. That's not always the best idea. You think you're saving a lot of money, but actually cooking is probably the best idea. So this was what my schedule looked like roundabout in my first year. The first term is Platform for Clinical Skills, which is where Cardiff give you the basis of everything that you'll need to know over the next 5 years in effectively a term, which means that it's ridiculously intense. Thankfully, the second and third terms aren't so bad, but it does break down to about 35 hours a week of contact time, be this lectures, tutorials, practicals, or dissection. and you need to develop a way of coping with this, because at times this will be quite stressful, and it will be quite difficult to keep on top of work. So you do need to make sure that you're always able to. And that's why I come to styles of studying. So there's three main things when I see people in lectures. The first thing needs to be all lectures are recorded, but there's different ways of writing up lectures or learning from lectures. So the top example that I used was listening to the lecture, then writing it up after it's published online. So I personally do this, and it allows you to consolidate your knowledge. So what I do is I just sit there in the lecture and completely listen to what the lecturer has to say. Then once it's published online, I go ahead and I write it up. And that basically just allows me to ensure that all of my knowledge is absorbed, actually. Writing up during the lecture, I see a lot of people doing this. It is more, well, it is less time consuming, so it does allow you to do other things. However, it does mean you might miss something important that could come up in an exam in a later date. So I always find it easier to just sit there and listen, and then not writing up any lectures. Don't do that. It might seem like a good idea at the time, but just don't do it. And then once you've got your notes, it's just a matter of learning them, and that is through your chosen preferred method of learning. Exams in Cardiff, there's mock exams and real exams. In Cardiff, you have 2 mocks in January. These will test you on everything you've learned in the first term, as well as your anatomy. These are pass or fail, but nothing actually happens to you if you fail. You just know you need to work a little bit harder. And then real exam wise, there is only one exam. It's 140 questions in 3 hours, pass or fail. You must retake it if you fail, but only about 20 people each year tend to fail, and most pass during the retake. It's also important to note, burnout is a real thing. So it's often from doing too much, or not compartmentalizing, or actually just not using any stress relief. So it's always important to have a balanced life at uni, be it taking up a new hobby or continuing to play a sport that you've been playing for years. You still need that outlet, because it is quite an intense course. Taking breaks is also just as important. And of course, your mental well-being always does come first. If you are struggling, it is always important to talk to somebody. And then my final section, socializing. Another common thing that people worry about is that they don't drink at uni, and they feel that this will disadvantage them in some way. Just because you don't drink doesn't mean you'll miss out on anything of the social side at uni. For example, there's a lot of societies that will do sober socials. So one example of this is there is a society called the 30-Minute Social Club. This society gives you 30 minutes warning of what their social will be, and if you're there, you're there. If you're not, they'll see you at the next one. It's really, really good, and all of the society is lovely. You can also, there will as well be people who don't want to drink, and it just means that you can spend time exploring, or going to movies, or going down to the bay. And it's also cheaper if you don't drink. And then one of the main things of uni is you get Wednesday afternoons off. This is either a time for sports socials or just normal socials. On the Wednesday, a lot of the sports clubs go to a student union nightclub. But of course, if you don't do any sports on a Wednesday, or you don't want to go to any socials, you can always just use this time to catch up, because a lot of clubs don't actually play on a Wednesday afternoon anymore due to COVID. A lot of them will play during the week or on the weekends. And then sport. Cardiff University has many different sports clubs, over 70 in fact. Many hold weekly socials. Some are alcoholic socials, but a lot of them aren't. Sport happens every single day of the week. So if you want to do sport on a Monday, you have no issue getting there. And it also helps you find people with similar interests. Most sports have a medic team. So that there is our medic squash club, lovely group of people. And then this is just a random picture I pulled off the internet of a Cardiff University team. But it just goes to show the range of the sporting activities that Cardiff actually has to offer. And then, of course, there's always chips. So at Cardiff, I couldn't miss this opportunity to have a quick plug about chips. But so I joined chips for all of these reasons. Food was a pretty major one, if you haven't noticed. They're very good. They're great, and I have helped. I've been helped to discover many new cuisines that I have not tried before. And it also just gives you a sense of community and friends, and they are probably the most helpful society that I have joined, because they give you help with studying. They teach you all the studying tips and tricks, and I can't recommend them more if you do come to Cardiff. Finally, thank you very much for